Yeah.
It's usually the bass players that complain all the time.
I'm kind of full, but I'm okay. Is this in B flat?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This next song, very kind of, it's a unique song. On July 4th or 5th here in Gettysburg after the battle, as the residents began coming back out in the street to see what kind of shape the town was in, and of course it was littered with dead horses, bodies, broken cannons, all kinds of stuff. They found the body of a soldier over off of Stratton Street. He was lying on his back with a picture of 3 children in his hands, and he had bled out and died there probably on the first day of the battle. There was no identification on him, and he was buried in a front yard there because they were burying people where they lay just simply to get them underground at that time. The picture went home with a young lady. She wound up giving it to her father, who owned a tavern west of Gettysburg. A few weeks later, doctors had decided they would all join up, volunteer their time to go to Gettysburg to care for the wounded. A doctor from Philadelphia by the name of John Bourne met other doctors in Chambersburg, and as they were coming back east to Gettysburg, they stopped at this tavern. Their carriage had a problem. They stopped at the tavern, and Dr. Bourne noticed the picture of the 3 children, the blood-stained frame also. And he asked the tavern owner about it, and they had a conversation, and Bourne said, you know, I'd really like to make an effort to find out who that man was. So Dr. Bourne came back here. He worked for a few weeks helping with the wounded. When he returned to Philadelphia, he had copies of that picture made, and he put articles in newspapers all over Pennsylvania and New York. They thought possibly this soldier was from the state of New York, but they weren't sure. On October 30th, 1863, a newspaper in Philadelphia printed the article. That newspaper got mailed to Portville, New York, and the postmaster there would read the paper, give it to a resident, and they'd pass it around the town until everybody had read it. A young lady with 3 children by the name of Philinda Humiston read that article, and she hadn't heard from her husband Amos since before the Battle of Gettysburg. She wrote Dr. Bourne a letter. It came to her on November 20th, 1863, the day after the National Cemetery was dedicated. When she took the little picture out of the envelope, she realized she was a widow and her 3 children had lost their father. Sergeant Amos Humiston of the 154th New York was identified. He was disinterred and moved to the National Cemetery the first week of January 1864. Dr. Bourne traveled to Portville, New York, and returned the original picture to Philinda Humiston, and he asked her how she was getting along. She said simply off the charity of the townspeople. With Amos gone, we have no income at all. Dr. Bourne realized what a problem that was, and he developed the Homestead Association, and he sold pictures of Amos, the 3 children, and with the money raised from that, along with people from Gettysburg and other people that wrote poems and songs about Amos, they raised enough money to build the Orphan and Widows Home here on Baltimore Street in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It opened in 1866. Philinda and the 3 children were some of the very first residents. They lived there until 1869. She remarried and moved to Massachusetts. So anyway, a songwriter by the name of James G. Clark in the spring of 1864 would write a song called The Children of the Battlefield. And it would become a big hit as far as raising money for that widow and orphans home here in Gettysburg. It was not performed what you would call nationally as a Civil War song. It was performed right around the Gettysburg, the Pennsylvania area, and it did very well. We happen to be geeks and collect all kinds of strange things. We actually have one of the original cards with the 3 children on it, and one of the original pictures of Amos Humiston. And we'll let you look at these afterward, because we're nice people. But anyway, the song The Children of the Battlefield, I found the sheet music for that some time ago, and here's our rendition of The Children of the Battlefield. Ready?
On the field of Gettysburg, the summer sun was high, when freedom met her haughty foe beneath the northern sky. Among the heroes of the north, who swelled her grand array, and rushed like mountains, eagles forth from happy homes away. for his children's care. For his children's care. On the field of Gettysburg, the morning shone again. The crimson cloud of battle burst in streams of fiery rain. Our legions quelled the awful flood of shot and steel and shell, while banners marked with ball and blood around them rose and fell, and none more nobly won the name of champion of the free than he who pressed the little frame that held the children free. And none were braver in the strife than he who breathed a prayer. Oh, Father, shield the soldier's wife, and for his children's care. For his children's care. On the field of Gettysburg, the foremost slowly rose. She looked and saw 10,000 brows, all pale in death's repose. And down beside the silver stream, from other forms away, calm as a warrior in a dream, our fallen comrade lay. His limbs were cold, his sightless eyes were fixed upon the three sweet stars and rose in memory skies to light him o'er the sea. Then honored be the soldier's life, and hallowed be his prayer. Oh, Father, shield the soldier's wife, and for his children's care.